Welcome to More Than a Lawyer with your host, attorney Christy Crow. This is a podcast that highlights the amazing acts of service that lawyers perform all over the country. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, www.jinxcrow.com. Now here's the host of More Than a Lawyer, Christy Crow.
Welcome to More Than a Lawyer. We're so excited to have with us here today Ramiro Rodriguez. Ramiro is with Georgia Injury Advocates, which is a law firm over in Georgia, as you might assume from the name. And we're excited to have him here with us today because he's going to tell us a lot about his childhood, coming to the United States at the age of 7, and now he's been able to retire and unretire, I'm guessing, by the age of 47. He also owns a cigar bar, a real estate firm, and a law firm. Welcome to the show, Ramiro.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you for being here. So excited that y'all invited me to come on the show. So
we're super excited to have you because it's always good to have someone close by that can understand my accent. Sometimes a Southern accent gets folks. So tell us a little bit about your childhood and how you came to come over to the United States at age 7. I don't even think you knew English at the time. Tell us how difficult that was and what made you decide, or your parents decide, that you needed to be over here.
So my parents, their dream was to come to the United States. Even today in Mexico, you hear everyone talking about go to America and you can do whatever you want. You're going to be able to become who you want, make whatever money you want. And so that was the same back then. So my father, he would come over to the United States, hitchhike over to Dallas, Texas, because we were on border town over by Texas. And he was one of these folks that was at a gas station waiting for jobs to come. He would be down here for 3 months at a time, and then he'd go back to Mexico and see us. We lived in a 15 by 15 foot house, dirt floors, no electricity, no running water. So when he'd come back, there was 4 of us there living in that little house. But I can tell you, I remember the house. I remember the dirt floors. My mom would spread water on them to keep the dust down. And I could still remember the smell of that wet dirt. So remember that very well. Finally, my dad earned enough money and brought us over to Texas. So he was working at a junkyard. I started school. And yes, I didn't speak a lick of English. I don't remember any struggle there. Probably because in McAllen, Texas, there's probably a lot of people that spoke Spanish, I would imagine, because I don't remember struggling. I didn't remember struggling until later on, maybe around 5th grade, because my reading and writing was not very good. To answer your question, we came to America for the American dream. And that's the reason that my parents thought we have to go to America.
Well, it looks like you've achieved the American dream. What were some of the unique challenges that you had as what I'm assuming was a first generation college student for your family?
Well, the biggest challenge was just knowing that I could go to college. I didn't know anybody that went to college. I didn't know any doctors or lawyers. So I had no earthly idea a person like me could go to college. So that's why one of the things I always do is if I get invited to go speak at a school, I make sure I take that and I take it seriously so that those kids understand someone like them that doesn't have money, doesn't speak very good English, could go to college. So when I graduated high school, my parents just wanted me to finish high school. That was their big dream for me. I mean, my mom has the highest education. She made it to the 3rd grade, and my dad never finished the 1st grade. So they couldn't read or write English or Spanish. And so their dream was for me to finish high school. That was goal number 1. So when I finished high school, and I barely finished high school, they were just so proud of me. I had already surpassed all their expectations. It wasn't until later on that I started discovering that, well, I might can do more, because my goal during high school was to be a millionaire. That was my only goal. Don't ask me why. I just thought if you have money, it's better. Because in my household, if my dad lost his overtime, it threw everybody in a panic, because my parents worked 7 days a week. And if he lost his overtime, we were in bad shape. So I didn't want to live that way. I knew it. And so I just decided I'm going to be a millionaire. I thought I wanted to be a millionaire by age 35. Found out it's not as easy as I thought. But I opened up all types of different businesses, and I could never have enough money to do it. So I ended up going to bank for loans. They wouldn't. The only thing I could get loans for was for student loans. And so that's when I started looking into school.
That's so interesting to me. So you basically went to college so that you could get the student loans so you could run your business?
So I can start a business. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
that's
figured,
great. What was your first business you started?
lawn care.
That's
Lawn
a good
care.
entry. That's a good entry.
Yep. Yep. And like my high school teacher told me, people like me love doing lawn care. I was like,
Well, there's a lot of guys that may or may not have been like you that were in high school, started lawn care businesses. And we're going to get to all the things you do in your community. You mentioned you go and speak at schools. And as you know, this is about being more than a lawyer. So all of your businesses are interesting too. But why don't you tell us a little bit about Georgia Injury Advocates and what you do as a lawyer?
So I learned early on, as soon as I became a lawyer and started working at a law office, that I loved it. And so I was one of these fortunate lawyers that really loved what they were doing. Every day I felt like I was helping somebody. And it was just such a great feeling. So I just naturally started working a lot. I was working from 7, 8 in the morning till 8 or 9 at night. And then I would do real estate closings during the night. So I would get home about 2 o'clock in the morning, next day, start again. But I loved it so much, it didn't even feel like I was working. Back then, I also did criminal work. Right now, we just do personal injury. But when I was first started, you took in whatever you could. And with the criminal work, it was instant gratification because we'd go to court and we'd fix their problem. And I was on cloud 9 the whole time. So from the beginning, I thought of my office as we're just helping people. And so it has allowed us to give great customer service because my team also believes we're just going to help people. So we give good customer service and the law firm started growing. So we've been in business now 25 years.
That's amazing. And tell us a little bit about the type of injury work you do over in Georgia. Where do you serve clients? What kind of cases do you specialize in, and those kind of things?
So mostly our number one case is auto accidents. And then our second is workers' comp. And we help people throughout all of Georgia. Nowadays, everyone has accepted Zoom and accepted DocuSign. So people don't even need to come to my office anymore. So all over Georgia, 85% probably is Latin community, though. So that is a little bit of a niche that we have.
I'm assuming that most of your staff is bilingual too, which would make help with the Latin community that you're serving.
Correct. Yeah, everyone except for my associate attorney, but we have so much other staff that can help him. He's been with me like 17 years now, so he's very accustomed to it.
So I want to get back to your first job and the first company that you started. You said you started in lawn care and then went to college. Tell us about, you have a cigar bar and a real estate company now. What made you, which one was next? After the lawn company, which one was next?
Well, after the lawn company, that was in high school. After the lawn company, I started repairing cars in my driveway, in my parents' driveway.
I was about to say, I bet your mama loved that.
Yeah. That didn't work out. Then I started buying used cars, fixing them up and selling them. That didn't work out either because I never could get enough capital. And that's when I started going to the banks and they're like, no, you don't have any money. We're not going to lend you any money. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. So I went to college, met a lawyer by accident because I was going to go for engineering. I met a lawyer and I had never met one. So I was kind of in awe. And he said, no, I didn't have any money. And I got into law school. So he's the one that encouraged me, that said, you can do it. And that's when I started looking into law school. I went on loans. I just paid my loans off when I turned, I think, 48 or 49 years old. I paid my last payment. So, yeah, well worth it. Well worth it. So anybody that really wants to do something with their life that they know what they want to do, it's still worth it just to pay loans. So I come out of law school. I get a job at a law firm over in Dunwoody. Unbeknownst to me, somebody wanted to interview me. I didn't put my resume out because I didn't want to work for anybody. I wanted to work for myself. But the dean came up to me and said, hey, there's a couple of law firms that want to interview you. I said, well, I didn't put my resume out there. I didn't apply anywhere. And they said, no, they usually come in and want to interview the top 10% of the class. And I said, I'm top 10% of the class? And she goes, yeah, you're graduating cum laude. I like had to go home and research what cum laude was because I didn't want to sound like total dumb person, And I was like, so interviewed with a guy. I was honest with him. I was like, I want to have my own firm. And he's like, let me ask you, do you know where the courthouse is? I was like, no. Have you filed a lawsuit? I was like, no. I said, you're going to have at least 6 to 8 months before you get your bar license. Why don't you come work for me? And you get to learn all that and make a little bit of money. I was like, huh. And that made sense. So that's what I did. Went to work for him. As soon as I got my license, I told him, I was like, hey, I'd like to let you know that I'm leaving. And he's like, well, this is an LLC. I can make you a partner. And I was like, no, I want to have my own business. So I did. Back in 1999, I opened up my own office in my house. So that's another good story. I quit. I don't tell my wife. But in preparation for quitting, I bought a house because I was told that once you start your own business, your credit goes bad. So we did find a house. We bought it. We moved in. And within weeks, I am telling my office I'm quitting. Last day, I never told my wife. So I get home that evening and I tell her, I was like, well, just want to let you know, today was my last day. Tomorrow, I'm up in the spare bedroom starting the new law office. She goes, well, I don't know if this is the right time to tell you, but I'm pregnant. I'm like, oh boy.
Oh, wow. That's a big day in your life.
Yep. So I go to the bank account. I had $330 and I needed to buy a printer because I had a really old computer, but I needed a printer. So I went, bought a printer and a fax machine and brought it home and opened up my office that very next day. Had a little bit more pressure on me to succeed, but it worked out.
It definitely has worked out for you, and that's so exciting. Well, as you know, this podcast is about being more than a lawyer. So we really want to focus on the things you do outside of the courtroom, because I think you and I could probably sit around and tell courtroom stories all day. So I know you've been involved in your community throughout your career. Tell the listeners some things that you've done to get involved in your community there in Georgia.
Well, one of the ones was the real estate company. All these people were coming, a lot of my clients, and they couldn't find a place to live. The ones that were available were just horrible. Um, the, the the landlords were slumlords. I mean, at that time, and so I thought to myself, I'll buy one of these properties, fix it up on my spare time, and rent it out. Well, that happened, and it worked out really well. The people were really happy because I made sure, again, I'm taking care of people. We repaired the stuff that needed to get repaired really fast. So word spread, and now people are calling me, asking me for another house. So I buy another one. I buy another one. And so now we have 40. So that's just one piece of helping people.
Yeah, it's amazing. We are doing some litigation now involving slumlords, basically, where they don't fix apartments and um, the apartments are condemned
Hmm.
before, and people are still living in them. And the availability of affordable housing in America has become such an issue that while that's a separate business, that really is a community service.
Well, we try to keep the prices down and give a good product. Um, we probably could make more money if we raised our rents, but we're trying to do the right thing and help. And it's funny, whenever you convince yourself that you're just trying to help, it goes well for you. I learned that a long time ago. But yeah, that's that company. And then we do festivals. Like carnivals come in town or something, and you can rent a table and put it out. Now we do that we're passing out swag for the office or something. But my main concern is when the young folks come by there, I get to talk to them and let them know that they can do something with their life. Because sometimes you can just see some people feeling down. And so I just take that as an opportunity to talk to the community. Um, so we do that. I talk to a lot of schools. It's so rewarding to have all these little faces look up to you. And so last year, I did this at an elementary school. I usually do middle school and high schools, but someone asked me to do an elementary school. And I, I gave my little speech, and somebody said, "So you mean I could become a lawyer?" I said, "Yes, yes, you can." And he asked me if I had a business card. And so I said, "Yeah." So I gave him the business card, and he goes, "Will you sign the back of it?" I was like, "Sure." So I like giving an autograph, right? Well, I look up, everyone had gotten in a line to get a business card and an autograph.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
that just made me feel so good. I thought that might be too young for me to talk to, but no, obviously it made a difference. So that's another thing that we do all the time.
Yeah, well, you never know how you can impact a child's life. And when I say child, it can be anywhere from 2 to 22, just by interacting with them and letting them know the options that are out there and that the direction doesn't always have to be straight. For example, you didn't go straight out of high school to college to law school. I'm sure there's many steps along the way. And so giving that perspective from someone who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps has got to be very rewarding and very helpful to kids who might not have great influences in their lives.
Yeah, because, well, you know, a lot of people's parents have had a hard life, right? If you're middle income, low income, you've been working all your life, you can't help but tell your kids, you're going to have to work hard and life's not easy. Uh, and that's not necessarily true, right? There is ways out of it. But when all you hear is that all your life, that's what you're going to turn your life into. And so I just try to let them know there's a different life out there. You just got to go for it. You may not succeed every single time, like you say, but you got to go for it.
Right. And I think being forthright about the failures you've had in life has to be pretty inspirational to them too, because we all know that for every success, there are probably 5 failures in a business world or in any other aspect of life. You know, every time you meet, you might have met the love of your life, the first girl you dated, but I'm guessing you had a few other girlfriends before your wife because you have to go through some people and figure out who you are and who they are and what you need out of a relationship. You have to do that in business. You go through different businesses and say, here's the good part about operating a car repair business. It might not be as good as operating a car repair and sales business. So, how do you incorporate your life experiences into the stories and lessons that you share with the children?
Well, one time, giving a talk at a middle school, I said, "All right, so I had a lawn care business. It went out of business. I said I had a mechanic shop and it went out of business. I had a car sales shop and it went out of business. So I'm here to talk to you about entrepreneurship. And so they all start laughing. They're like, I was like, nope, I'm serious. That's what you do. When you're an entrepreneur, you just can't give up. You never know what's going to work. So I let them know that the thing is, what keeps an entrepreneur going is just the spirit that you want to make it work. You don't give up easily. And I don't know anyone that it hasn't worked out for them. But like you're saying, they all have a story. Everyone went through a lot before they got their business. Now, I'm going to back you up just a little bit on the wife because I did meet my wife in high school and we've been married since then. So that one I did get lucky on.
You
So,
did get lucky on that one.
yeah, so I did get lucky on that one.
Well, you are very lucky, and your wife must be very patient with you because I'm telling you, if my husband had come home on the day I found out I was pregnant and told me he quit his job, I might have uh, been a little rough in my response to that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've been real fortunate because I was talking to another couple and I was like, you don't have to have somebody that is going to work in the business with you as your couple, but you need to have somebody that'll support you and say, okay, yeah, you want to do that, you go and do that. You know, I was fortunate. She took care of the house and the kids, and I went out and worked because I was working 80 hours a week. And so, but I had that support at the house that I knew the kids were okay, the house is okay, and that's what helped me grow. So it is important. But nope, 30 years, and we dated 8 years before that. So
Well, congratulations. That is a testament in and of itself.
yeah, but that's about the only thing that I had easy.
Well, and again, I have to guess that that probably wasn't easy all of the time. Even
Oh,
though you've been together that long, I'm just telling you, it's not
yeah,
always easy.
no, it takes forgiveness. I think that's the biggest and understanding. So but nope, we're still here.
That's awesome. Well, what do you have coming up next, Ramiro? I know you've always, as a serial entrepreneur, you probably have an adventure that's coming up next in your life. Tell us about it.
I just got back from the Dominican Republic. I was there all last week, and I am starting my own cigar line. So I'm going to have a cigar out. It's called Gargolas, and I just opened up the company over in Florida so I can import them. I went to the Dominican Republic to a factory, and they blended it all up for me. So we found, what I like the best, and so that's going to be the next project.
That's going to be great. Those Dominican cigars are fabulous, and I know it'll be a great project. Where is your cigar bar?
Kennesaw, Georgia. Um, it's about 20 minutes outside of Atlanta. But yeah, we have food and drinks there. It's called Cigar Gallery, and it's more of a hobby. It's for fun. Of course, as an entrepreneur, you want it to make money. But yeah, it's more of a hobby. I just enjoy it. I enjoy cigars. I started smoking cigars in high school because in the magazines, that's what rich people did. They smoked cigars. Poor people smoked cigarettes. Rich people smoke cigars. So I started going to gas stations and buying a cigar, and I would smoke it on the weekends just to make myself feel like I'm there already.
That was on the
Unfortunately, it
way to
stuck.
becoming a millionaire by age
Yep,
35.
yep, yep. I was doing everything I could. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that they actually have written books on how to become a millionaire. No one told me, we didn't know that. And so I tell people, educate yourself. It doesn't cost you anything. It's all on the internet. You pick the right person to listen to, and it's all there. But I didn't know that. So
Well, and that's a great thing about going into the schools and talking to kids as much as you can, because you can give them ideas on books to read, people to mentor them. and ideas on how to succeed and how to get up after they fail. I think that's just as important lesson to share as how to succeed, because it's a lot easier to quit after you fail than it is to keep trying. So I think seeing people that have to keep trying and have succeeded after multiple failures is a good thing.
Yep. Yep. And no one knows how to fail like I do. I'm good at it. I'm really good at it.
Oh, I tell folks that all the time. I've won a lot of trials, but I've also lost some. And any trial lawyer that says they've never lost a trial is just because they haven't tried enough cases.
Or they haven't taken any difficult ones, because you can always take the little easy ones. But that's another thing I would do as far as giving back. When I was doing criminal work, I would take 1 or 2 cases a year that I would do for free, usually a losing case. One was a young man that was charged with child molestation, and I really believed that he was innocent. And you can't hire a good lawyer for child molestation without having a lot of money. So I still remember that one, and we were able to win for him because I really believed he didn't do it. They accused him of patting a girl's butt and charged him with child molestation. I mean, it was just
wow.
Yeah. So, but that's another thing I like to do. I always just like helping the people, and sometimes they don't have the money, so we take 1 or 2 cases a year, and they're usually pretty big. It keeps up your trial skills too, right? But
yeah, that's a great way to give back to your community as well. And something that most lawyers try to do some pro bono work, but taking on a major criminal case like that is definitely over and beyond what most lawyers do. So that's great. Well, Ramiro, this being the More Than a Lawyer podcast, tell the listeners what being more than a lawyer means to you.
Well, you want to be a good person and you want to help people. It doesn't matter if it's in with just law, but the returns you get from helping people in any aspect of life is unbelievable. It's one of the universal laws, I'm pretty sure, that you could put good out there, good comes back. I am an example of that. I'm the epitome of the American dream. Made my first million at 37 and got to retire at 47. But like you say, I had to go back and work because I was just drinking and smoking all the time, and my wife didn't like that. But yeah, it's just helping people, and it doesn't matter in what. I mean, I do it with my rental houses. I do it in my cigar bar, with schools, in carnivals. It's just helping people, and you're going to be okay. But when you look at it that way, it just makes everything easier.
Well, thank you for the inspiration, and I hope folks that listen to this will go out and help some folks with a happy attitude and know that will come back to them in many different ways. So, Ramiro, thank you so much for joining us on More Than a Lawyer, and I hope you have a great cigar smoke over the weekend.
Will do. I will. Thank you.
You've been tuning into More Than a Lawyer with your host, attorney Christy Crow. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, www.jinxcrow.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.